Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm down here looking at a prickly pear today. I'm in the arid plains of Utah, and I want to talk today about the plains prickly pear. Now there are a lot of different types of prickly pear and a lot of varieties, and I went over a few of them recently, so check that out. You can see a whole list of different kinds of prickly pears. Try to figure out what kind of prickly pears you have in the region you're in. That can be important with understanding things about when they bloom and when you can expect to find fruits and what the fruits are like, if they're dry or not. So check that out so you can figure out what type of prickly pear you have. But today, like I said, I'm down here looking at a plains prickly pear. So let's go down and check it out. All right, so here we have a plains prickly pear. As you can see, it's in bloom right now. They typically have these really pretty yellow flowers. Sometimes there's more of a pink or bronze variety as well. They actually have a lot of variety of flowers. We'll talk about that in a little bit. This one obviously has this beautiful bright yellow flower, and that indicates to us that it is somewhere between May and July. It's actually June right now, and that's when these things bloom. Again, this is a plains prickly pear. So we find the plains prickly pear in a really wide range. Like, you can find this thing all the way from the southwest US up through into Canada. It has a really wide range and over to the Midwest. So that's one really important characteristic about this prickly pear. Now, another thing you'll notice is how small it is. As you might notice from this one, as you can see, there's my finger comparison, really small pads there. It's not just because it's early in the season. These are known for being smaller prickly pears, smaller to the ground, as well as smaller pads. These get about 7-inch stem joints, while some of your larger desert varieties get more closer to like 12 to 18-inch. And these guys are still a pretty bright greenish color. Some of them will be a little more blue-green colored. These are flattish pads, as you can see, but still succulent pads, even though they're small. I've seen a few varieties out here on the plains that the pads are a bit bigger than that. This one's particularly small. The spines can range. Again, there's always a lot of variety with cactus. Remember that these guys can hybridize, and so you'll find variety. But in general, you can see they're about 1 inch to maybe 1.5 inches at most for the spines. And the flowers will be a couple inches across. Again, reference there. Pretty nice, big, showy flowers. Now again, these flowers bloom May to July, and after the flowers bloom, we get the fruits. Now, the fruits on the plains prickly pear are a little different. They're dry at maturity, and only a couple different prickly pears are dry at maturity, and it's good to know that. Again, while there are some spineless varieties of prickly pear out there, most of our prickly pears will have spines, and rather large ones, so you want to be careful if you're handling them. Maybe wear gloves, and when you take pads off, you typically do it with a knife, but again, gloves help to not get pricked by the spines. And the other thing to worry about with prickly pears, if you're new to dealing with prickly pears, are glaucids. Now, when you look here, you see the larger spines right there, right? Well, glaucids are actually much smaller. Think of them as small spines, when you can think of them as a lot like fiberglass. A lot of the prickly pears, they'll grow, some of them will have a lot of glaucids along the edge like this, and it's essentially like fiberglass, so it gets in there and it's really hard to get them out. And you can survive them. They're just a little bothersome is all, and you have to take them off before you can eat them. Well, we'll talk more about foraging the prickly pears. Check that out. I've talked about foraging prickly pears and some of the prickly pears I've eaten. The pads of prickly pears are edible, and the fruits that come after the flowers are edible. But again, in this case, these fruits are dry at maturity. As you can see from here, the habitat is primarily among boulders and rocky hillsides and plains, fairly arid, low elevation, mixed shrub communities like pinyon, juniper, maybe blackbrush communities that you'll find these plains prickly pears in.